then let's start. Yeah. So welcome everybody. I'm so glad you guys came to our Expedition Online, the second edition. So as I said before, with the structure, I'm going to introduce ourselves first, and then all the artists would introduce themselves, and maybe you can go last, Alfred, and then transition into talking about Kunst im Gefängnis, and then we're going to have a little discussion. So yeah, so we're Exhibition.Exchange, and we're a group or an art collective that formed during the first quarantine, and we wanted to show the art that people made during Corona and kind of show what happened. So we have an exhibition that's going to be showing. And it's both with full-time and part-time artists, because we kind of wanted to show how art can help everyone. Yeah, and because of the lockdown, we couldn't have our exhibition because that was going to be in January. So we had a discussion instead to kind of keep the flow going. And because it went so well, we thought we could do it again. And this time we even thought, instead of just talking within our artist group, we kind of thought about people that maybe had a unique perspective about, creating art from isolation, kind of finding inspiration in that. So Expedition Online is basically just the online discussions. And yeah, that's us. So maybe all the artists could go and introduce themselves. And as I said before, if you want to show some of your work, you can, but yeah.
So it's the part where we introduce ourselves.
Yes, exactly.
Start. I'm Mariana. I'm not a professional artist. I'm a hobby artist. Kind of got lost along the way. What I like to do, but I do it to kind of release whatever is inside me and to overcome personal situations. I'm a social worker sitting in Berlin, young mother, and working now at a project for homeless refugee people. We are called Wohnhelden, settled in Berlin, and I'm very happy to be part of this discussion, and I'll pass the word to the next person who wants to introduce herself or himself.
Well, I'm Elijah. I'm from the US, from Los Angeles, based in Berlin. I write poetry, and I'm still sort of in the, I guess you could say, early stages, quote unquote, of my career. I haven't really published all that much, aside from, sort of magazines that I was running when I was in college in New York. But yeah, I run an art bookstore here, and yeah, I'm happy to be here. Looking forward to chatting and seeing what comes up.
I'm Yuma. I'm also from the US and also a poet. And I work as a freelance translator and editor in literature events, sort of generally in Berlin. And I'm also not particularly published, still starting out. But hopefully that'll change. And yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Okay, should I go next?
Yes.
So yeah, I'm Pierre, and I'm actually like an architect, building technologist. So I do not necessarily consider myself like a professional artist. I just do my own little sketches and like releases on, I don't know, often like on things I actually find on the street, and then I just like start painting on it a bit. And yeah, that's a little bit about it. I think for me, art is actually everything, and everyone is actually an artist in a way. So I don't see there any boundaries.
Okay, maybe I'm next. Okay.
I think Margarida. Yeah.
Yes.
Did I?
Sorry. Okay, I can. Okay, very shortly. My name is Margarida. I am a recent law graduate from Lisbon, and I always, I really see myself in what Pierre just said. Like, I'm not really an artist. I just do it most of the time for fun. Whenever I feel like I need to express myself in some sort of way, I start to sketch, or I paint with a lot of watercolors, for example, a lot of sketches all the time. So yes, it's sort of funny to be here because there are really truly artists here, and I just want to live up to those standards, so to say. But yes, I'm excited to be here and to start discussing here everything with everyone.
Okay, my name is Alfred Haberkorn. Well, I live in Dresden and I work now for over 20 years in a prison as an art therapist. But I consider myself mainly as an artist and musician. And I think the therapeutic thing is more on the top of this, based on this practical art thing. So I'm less a psychologist and more the artist guy. And well, working in a prison is kind of special, I guess. And so, well, I'm mostly dealing with the drug people and with, well, guys with it's a male prison, yeah, and it's, you know, I do a lot of painting there and a lot of musical projects and some film stuff and, well, things like that. And I like it.
I have some questions for you, Alfred Haberkorn. We kind of thought about the idea that these people, I think they don't have a choice necessarily as much as we do in doing their daily life, and to them, the art is just kind of, or the art therapy is more like they kind of need to do it maybe. So what do you do when people kind of sort of have a block? Because we also thought we knew of a lot of people that really had a block during lockdown, where they just really didn't have any creativity to create any art. So do you have like, what is your experience with that, or do you not experience it at all maybe?
Well, you know, I for myself feel well, kind of like a kind of depressing block over everything what I do during this pandemic thing. To the inmates, to the prisoners, it's a different thing. It's a very different thing, and I have to explain this a little bit. For me, it you know, with all the time I have now, you know, my like Mariana told, she's a mother of a young mother, you know, and I'm an old father, and my children just left home, and so I have lots of time for myself and in my world, and still not getting so much done as I could or as I should. You know, this is what I feel myself, and I really hope that we are getting over this shitty pandemic thing as soon as possible, because it's really I don't know, it bores the shit out of me. And with the inmates, it's really different because well, they are locked up. You know, they don't have the choice being there, and you know, before the pandemic they couldn't do not really anything, and in the pandemic nothing really had changed for them and for their world. In an opposite, we do projects in the prison. We couldn't do it outside, you know, because we count the whole prison population in our prison as one family, you know, because they live together, and so we can do still projects in reality, you know, in directly contact, not with all this technical stuff, because this technical stuff is not allowed and it's not possible in a prison. You don't give the people a computer, you know. And so I think the difference for the prison isn't that big. There is a difference, and this is really a hard thing, because from the first lockdown here in Dresden or in Germany, the inmates weren't allowed to touch their family members during the visit anymore. And this is now going over 1 year and nothing had changed. So the people who have little children are not allowed to touch the newborn child, you know, or to kiss the female friends, you know. It's and this is hard. This is you can say, okay, this is something you have to do for a short term of time because of the pandemic, but this is really depressing the people. And so you can say nothing much has changed during the pandemic for the inmates, but in fact, these little things, or not really little things, but this means a lot to them. And so there are other things that gotten harder for the prisoners, but I think this is too much in the details. Mm-hmm. What I'm trying to do with my work is to show the people what they can do if they stick to their mind and to their abilities. You know, we use the art as a technique to show what is possible if they concentrate, if they stick to one thing, and if they take it very serious. And so I show them, for example, how to do portraits, very realistic portraits, and I think very high quality portraits. You know, they take a photo of the children, and those people who don't have no family anymore, because we have these guys in the prison. They take a picture of the dog. They say, okay, what I most admire, what I'm most missing in my time here is simply, it's my dog, you know, because the women and the children, they pass away, you know, but the dog stays. And so we paint the dog, you know, but this is hard. This is hard stuff if you're not used to paint, you know. So I show them step by step, but we have time. This is the only thing we have too much of. It's time. So we take maybe a half a year and for one picture. Why not? But I'm dealing with people who, as I told before, drug users, drug addicts, and people from very hard social situations, you know, what they survived as children. It's not only domestic violence, it's also sexual violence and other things. And I think most of the people had experience of that kind. It's a big thing for them to experience what they're able of, what they're capable of, if they concentrate and if they take the thing very serious. And it's the contact to those artists, because I'm not the only one in this prison. We have several artists, and we are all different in our character and what we are trained in. And I think this is very helpful for the inmates, and this is what I'm doing. And this is what I have a great belief in, that it's working well.
Yeah. So So I guess one of the methods you kind of use to support others' creativity is to give them time, or to like match them with the right artist? Or what would you say are methods that you use in order to support their creativity?
And yeah. Well, maybe one bizarre example I did in the first lockdown, because I made a film with the guys. Everybody was outside of the prison, was complaining about the lockdown and what it's how hard it is like to stay at home and not meeting your friends and just being allowed to go shopping and things like this. And this is so hard for everybody. And so I was thinking, for the inmates, this is the normal thing, and even worse, because we are allowed to go shopping. We have internet, we have telephones, and we have our own family, and we have maybe our little flat, or where we can move. They don't have these things. And so I said, okay, you guys, you now are experts, and you can tell how it is possible to survive mentally and physically in this lockdown situation. So I made a film, and the people told things about their life, and really tried to help the people outside what they could do in a lockdown situation, And there was so many cool ideas you can do when you have nothing. So this was really empowering, because the situation is turned upside down. It's not always the inmates who have the problem, and now it's the real world who has got the problem, and they are the experts to deal with that. So the main thing is really empowerment, and getting responsible for what you say and what you do. Take over the responsibility. And if we do a painting, the spirit is the same, we try to do the best that's possible, and we take it serious as hell. And we managed this, everything is possible. It's just paint, it's just color. You can learn that. And accepting that you are learning is one of the big things. It's not necessary that you know everything already. You are in prison, you have fucked up, and there's everybody is clear. Everything is clear. The people are there because they did something very bad, not capable with the rules of the society, and this is clear. So we are there to learn something about social behavior, about rules, about art, and caring about the own family, not only being the guy who's taking all the power. No, we're giving back. We make this painting, this wonderful painting, give it to the family. And even if the children won't see in the future, not so much from his father, because he's always in trouble and always maybe in prison, and things don't really change. At last, this kid has this painting his father did especially and only for him, and so things have a meaning. And I think this is not only symbolic, but it's also symbolic, very important for them. It's a chance.
Definitely. I think it's very interesting that you said that you have so much, or that the prisoners have so much time, because I think, as you also said, we have a lot of time now because of the lockdown. And I kind of wanted to ask everyone else as well, what has changed for you during lockdown, or how did your art change?
Before
Yeah.
you go to that question,
Sure.
I just wanted to add something I found really interesting that I could like relate to myself, is that I remember in the beginning that I always like felt nervous while drawing or painting, and that by exploring this where this coming from, I actually like got an attitude towards painting and drawing is actually like a way of like, you make a mistake and you make it over and over and over to kind of always like keep improving. So I actually always see like this process of producing art as as mistakes in a way, and like a collection of mistakes, and it's almost like a healing process, or like a self metamorphosis, or like a self-working process, basically. So that I found interesting. I think could relate a little bit to that.
Yeah.
But amazing work.
Yeah. I actually also think it's very interesting, Pierre, because you said in the beginning, art doesn't have boundaries. And then Alfred said, art helps to take responsibility and kind of learn boundaries, or learn. Yeah. And so I think it's very interesting that it kind of does both, right? Like within the art, you don't have you can do anything, but it teaches you sort of the responsibilities, or, that it is a medium and there are limits to it, kind of, I don't know.
I mean, maybe we have boundaries, but art doesn't necessarily have boundaries. I think it's more about like how we can like overcome boundaries in ourselves through that.
In the prison, the people are not so educated about art things. Maybe they've seen Bob Ross in the television, but most of the people never been into a museum, or maybe once in the theater piece with the school, but they try to sweep off and take a day off. If they managed, they were lucky, but they're not really interested in these things. And really, the big art discussion is not happening there. They don't do it because they want to be artists, or they they do it because it's necessary. It's a way of expressing, and I think this is cool, because we have those discussions. If I show those guys pieces of art from Gerhard Richter, and it's simply not understandable for these guys, why does a person who obviously can paint very good make all these funny stuff with his color, and they don't. They say, if I could paint like he did in his early years, I would be honored. If why in the world does art always turn out to be some crazy, ununderstandable shit, And I say, I don't care. I don't care about art. I don't care what we are doing here, and we do it with a purpose, And I think, as you said, Pierre, this thing about the mistakes, people are learning to deal with their own mistakes, because a normal thing, everybody is painting and everybody is trying to do the best what he can, in the class, and but everybody says, oh, you can do it. You are great in what you do, but I can't do it. Just look at my picture. And everybody says this. The self-criticism is so big, and the seeing only of the mistakes they used to everything they do has something to do with mistakes. They used to fail, and So they have the support of all the others, because all the others think, hey, what you're doing is great. Just look at your picture. I don't manage to paint a nose because this is hard, and it even looks like your child. It even looks like you. I see the similarity in this picture of your daughter to what you like, you know. And so this is really a social process, but it's very important because they have such a hard time to believe in themselves. And I can help with it because it's obvious. You have not only talking about what is possible, you see the result, and they are so proud of it. And they're not, you know, they're more proud of what they did with the painting than about their origin, you know. Well, I'm a German, yeah, this is something, okay, cool. But it's more if you can paint, so, and this is, that's something.
And it's also amazing that as you said, Alfred, that whatever they produce, they're able to send it to their family or relatives if they want to. And in a way, it's a communication and at the same time a process of what they're going through inside the prison.
Yeah.
And what you said also about the portrait of the dog, is it maybe in a sort of protecting themselves from getting in touch way too much with the life they left outside, so that they try not. I mean, how do you auffangen? How do you say it in English? I'm always mixing German words, but you know, auffangen, to catch, and no, if somebody, it's a process, and it's a process to overcome what you lived.
Yeah.
And the people you work with, they certainly have very hard life.
Well,
how do you, wie fängst du sie auf? Ne? How do you deal with whatever comes out emotionally in there?
I don't know. I don't have a technique, you know. I'm just used to a lot of things because I worked there for so many times, you know. And I always improvise, you know, but I try to be, you know, the first 10 years when I worked there, compared to the last 10 years I worked there, now I get so many stories about this hard experience they had as while growing up, you know, with the sexual abuse and with the domestic violence they survived. I think they do it now more because I got stronger, you know. I got more, became to somebody who is able to listen to hard stories and not being helpless myself. So this is a experience thing, I think. But well, there are tears. Yes, of course, there are tears, and but this is okay, you know. And there are some things, you know. We also have people who are very traumatic. You say that, you know, the trauma. And they've been into the war. You have former, how do you say, Soldaten?
Soldiers.
Soldiers, yes, of course, who went to Afghanistan for the German army and came back, and they just nearly survived things there, and they thought they'd do something good, but they came back and said, oh, it's all wrong we are doing there, you know. And if you talk to them what they have experienced there in Afghanistan, you have to really be careful, because you never know what's breaking up, you know. This could be really too much. So, well, it's I don't know. It's mostly it's listening. People want to talk about these things, and they really looking for somebody who does not talk about drugs and about you know, things. We, the people from outside, and especially the artists with their own kind of thinking, are very valuable in this prison world, you know, because we work so differently.
Maybe for maybe for Elijah and Yuma, kind of maybe you're not in prison and you don't have this trauma, but did you find any strategies for yourself? So like for maybe how to overcome the isolation, or what are you experiencing with changing of your art or your expression? Or
I mean, you know, as like a writer, which is inherently, first of all, also, Alfred, thank you. It seems like you're doing such incredible things. And yeah, thank you for chatting with us. But yeah, with writing, which is such a like inherently solitary practice, one that doesn't usually involve like much kind of communal activity as other sort of artistic practices would. I mean, one would think that it wouldn't like change very much. You know, I also like I hate reading or writing in cafes, like things like that. So one would think that there wouldn't be much of a change, but I don't know. I guess just if we're just sort of talking about experiences, you know, I went through like a lot of up and downs in terms of like my productivity. Like this you know, fall was really productive. I wrote a lot, but then, you know, I'd say the first stretch of the lockdown, I like barely wrote or read at all. I don't know. I can't really think of any like strategies. It was just sort of kind of ad hoc, day-to-day sort of attempt to really get through it. I wasn't. Yeah, I don't have anything concrete that I did to combat, you know, the sort of effects of, you know, what we were all going through. But things definitely did change in terms of the amount I was producing and the amount I was reading, which is really integral to my practice as a writer. But yeah, I don't have anything concrete to add, I guess you could say.
Yeah, no, me neither, really, honestly. I guess my source of inspiration like vastly changed because a lot of my writing focuses on like cityscapes and like collected language and collected impressions, I guess. And then sort of just like finding a way to like relocalize that. So like now I'm writing a lot about like rats and like, I don't know, like things in the house, which is definitely sort of a jarring change, but it is sort of, I guess, exciting to see how much, I don't know, how you can make these changes. But no, honestly, no, I haven't been very productive and just been sort of rough. But yeah, not much.
maybe for everyone, can you just go with the flow, or do you kind of have to push yourself to find inspiration?
Like the idea of, I was just going to say, I think the idea of inspiration is kind of problematic in terms of one's like creative practices. I think if one like creative practices are inherently an act of work, you know, it's something that one has to put effort into and drive towards. It's not something that just kind of comes out of the woodwork, and you know, one isn't just suddenly, or I mean, I think it's a bad way of looking at, not necessarily bad, but it's not the way that I look at things, that one sort of should sit around and kind of wait to be taken into kind of like a productive moment or like a moment of inspiration. It's about coming to like a work sort of practice that fits your individual kind of like whatever you're putting out or whatever you're taking in as well. But I don't think inspiration is necessarily the right way to look at things.
Salvador Dali, I think, said once, like, inspiration comes, but it has to see working or something like this.
Mm-hmm. I mean, like the you know, Warhol's like Factory, like it was all about
practice.
Yeah, I mean, inspiration is really a big factor. I remember when the lockdown just started, I did my Erasmus semester the the semester before everything went to lockdown. So I went from feeling this complete freedom of doing whatever and living not at home, and it was just like this feeling of immense freedom, to being in my room for a very, very, very long time. So yes, inspiration played a big factor there. I mean, of course, I didn't take the time during my Erasmus to start painting or do some drawings, but of course, like I took many pictures to remember and visualize potential things I would paint later. But yes, when lockdown started, it just we were so lazy, and I mean that's okay, because there was, as you said, Elijah, there was no productivity whatsoever. You just, at least in my case, I would wake up, have classes for 6 hours straight through Zoom, and then do you think I felt like starting to draw or whatever? No, because I knew I would just stand up from my chair and from my desk to go to my living room or to my kitchen. And yes, definitely not being able to go outside and see things and I don't know, go just for a walk, it was completely taken out of us. And I think like being that the quarantine then was eased off, so to say. Of course, it's not the end, but we saw a little bit of the light at the end of the tunnel. I really started I started taking everything. I stopped taking everything for granted, like going out for a walk. I mean, I would really take deep breaths and look at the sky and see things with other eyes, definitely. So I couldn't agree more with you.
Beginning of the lockdown, it was the other way around. I noticed in April how creative I got, how productive, and because everything was new, everything was different, everything suddenly you were by yourself. And here in Germany, in Berlin, at least, we were still able to go outside, thank God. I know that I started doing stop motion videos about everything, about washing the dishes, about putting the clothes on the hanging clothes. This productivity lasted for 1 month, and I did make some nice things, some things I kind of liked, and I'm proud of, because usually I also relate to what was said before, that there's always a lack of self-confidence in what people do and what you do yourself. You're always your biggest critic, and yeah. But meanwhile, I tried sitting down and drawing something to do something creatively, and nothing came out. And I would say it has to do with the lack of impressions we are living in this time, with that we all have. And yeah, I'd say inspiration is very depending on impressions coming from outside. You can still work on your inner process, on your inner living, but you need things coming from outside to go into creative process. And if it doesn't happen, there is a sort of a block.
Yeah.
Yeah, ask one question to you, Mariana.
Yeah.
You said before that you work as a social worker with these homeless refugees. How did this change during this pandemic time? Because I think these people, you can't work with Zoom with these guys, you know, and so it's very important to work very directly with these people. And what changed, and how did you manage to keep on doing this in this time?
In the beginning of the lockdown, I wasn't working with refugees yet. Mm-hmm. I was in another project, and I switched to the refugee project, in which I'm not anymore. I'm in another refugee project, so I kind of have had a 3 professional changes along this time. In the second project, the one with the refugees, we did I did German teaching, and it was a sort of preparation to help disoriented people, refugee people with orientation problems, especially in the professional situation, to help them find their way. We did have direct contact. In class, we sat down with Abstand, with distance. We did put in question what was all happening. I gave them the possibility to express themselves about what was going on, to kind of put in question what the whole measures, because I think it's important to remain critic, to keep your eyes open and not to accept everything that is being asked you to do. The project I'm in, meanwhile, I'm in home office. I started completely in home office, and my task is unfortunately not the direct contact to refugee people, but my task is to do counseling for people who want to rent apartments to refugees. So it's all based on telephone, on calling, we do have a lot of requests from refugees, and I noticed for the counseling, it's really hard to do proper counseling if you're not personally in touch with the persons, because as we all see now in a Zoom meeting, I cannot smell you, I cannot see your expressions, and we don't feel what type of vibe is going on. It's all kept up by a computer, and of course the counseling process, the counseling setting changes a lot owing to this. You're not able to go into deep, to be tiefgründig, to go into the deep, to the point of the situation, of the helping process. This is what I noticed. And that's why I'm very much looking forward that this, because isolation changes and also is bad for human behavior. It changes human behavior, and it's so important to stay in touch with people in order to develop yourself, in order to develop creatively, in order to keep up with your social skills. And I had to think now about the Schachnovelle von Stefan Zweig, which is the person is in solitude, Einzelhaft. How do you say it in English? Sorry, I'm always coming up with German words, but you're in he is in prison, but all by himself, in a self, like.
Yeah, he's isolation, right? I think it's isolation.
Yeah. Isolation,
Solitary soul.
And what he does is to play chess in his head, to overcome this isolation and not to get mad. And that's why it's so incredibly important to remain your brains working and look for all the type of distractions you can find. But how long are we going to take this self-destructive process?
I mean, I think it's also not just your brain. It's also with your body. Like I personally took it a bit like also an opportunity to do other things. But of course, I'm a big degree very privileged person to be able to have internet and all these things there. But at the same time, I still felt it was a great opportunity to, I was working on things like breathing, for example, and trying to explore my own expression with my own body, which I think it is also a great way to kind of pass the time in a certain degree of solitude. But of course, it's different case, I think, when you're talking about somebody who's like in a prison completely.
Yeah, a lot of friends of mine start with meditation.
Yeah.
Started looking for spiritual ways.
In prison also. And well, it's not the right thing for everybody, you know, because we have people who suffer from this ADHS, Aufmerksamkeits
ADHD, yeah.
Yeah. And so they
we all do today.
Drive crazy if they have to sit in one place and shut up, you know. So it's a very hard thing for them to get into a meditation thing. But we have people who it's very, very helpful if you get to the point where you can use it. But not everybody is it's not possible for everybody. And this thing about the Schachnovelle, I know this, of course, and I've met, well, quite some people who been through the process of isolation for quite some time. We have, you know, inmates, well, and everybody, you know, knows that this guy, well, did sexual abuse to children maybe, and so he has to be really careful of the other inmates so that he not gets beaten up or hurt, you know. And these are people who sometimes say, okay, I won't leave my room, I won't leave my cell, please leave me alone, I'm scared. And after 2 years, you know, you see somebody really changed, because this isolation really harms the spirit and the body of these guys. This is a hard thing. Not able to look each other in the eye anymore, not to speak one sentence. You know, well, sometimes I have a chance to work with these guys if they trust me. If say, okay, we have a safe spot, you know, where I'm working, we have safe rooms. I promise you won't get hurt, you won't get, you know, but sometimes people are too scared and they say, oh no, just leave me alone. It's only 2 more years.
This may be a bit of a weird question, Alfred, but do you personally, in your personal art, did it change from when you started? Yes. Like if you said maybe that people are opened up or didn't, do you open up more or less in your personal art? Or
when I studied art, I did, you know, these, I had nothing to do with painting. You know, I did painting when in the time when I went to school. And this was maybe responsible for my decision to get deeper into the art and study things. But in the time when I studied and did my first steps as an artist, I did more, you know, the big things like I don't know, not really architecture, but the environment thing, conceptual art. And this has completely changed. You know, now I'm painting landscapes. If I do, and portraits, because I got in this work with the prisoners, I really this was necessary to start with landscapes and with portraits, because it was so necessary to the people. And so in a way, I got into these things, and I have a lot of more respect for the things and for the techniques. You know, I never cared about techniques. What I did, you know, it was more the idea and the spirit. And now I say, well, I don't care about the idea. Let's make a good painting, you know. And I'm not afraid anymore. You know, I'm over 50. I have nothing to show to nobody anymore, you know, and I can do what I want. And so I do what I want. And now I paint things. Yeah, I like it.
Maybe for everyone, what task does art fulfill for you? We kind of talked about, you know, connecting to people and maybe showing your inner pictures, and what task does it fulfill for you, or also what demand do they have on you? Does it have on you, or like on politics or society? Does that connect for you, or?
Good question. We have to think about it.
I mean, I was just at a museum yesterday and we saw an exhibition. It was about fauvismus, and I was so mad seeing those paintings. I got really mad, like watching, because this will be maybe a bit contradicting now, but I also don't tend to follow rules or techniques, as Alfred was talking about, when I'm doing my sketches or painting my watercolors, whatever. But those paintings were just smudges of paint, and they just do whatever they want, and that kind of annoyed me, because when I go to museums to see paintings, I like to see them done properly, you know, just see a landscape well painted or a portrait well painted. And then gladly we went to another section of the exhibition, which was about die neue Sachlichkeit. I don't know if you've ever heard of the art movement, but it was amazing, because I felt calm again, because there they respect the rules. And I was commenting this with my mother, just saying, I hate this. I don't understand. Like, are these guys called artists? Or I don't know, like I always think like I could do better, like thinking internally, maybe I could do better than the guys from the fauvismus. And my mother said to me, yeah, but that's how you interpret the painting. Like, for you, this is horrible. This is triggering this rage inside of you. But yeah, for example, for you, Mariana, or for you, Yuma, you would see it as something very beautiful. So I definitely believe it connects people, because it allows for a more ambiguous interpretation, a bigger, like you really open your perspective. I mean, yeah, for me, maybe, yeah, I would hate to hang such a painting, but you would probably like it. And I mean, it's also, of course, a thing of respect to accept that person's interpretation, and I don't know, not wreck that painting. But I truly believe it definitely allows for dialogue. It allows for new ideas to come in, everything. I mean, it's really a language, and I couldn't agree more also with Pierre when he said at the beginning that art is everything. Like, you see art everywhere. I mean, sunsets are art pieces that are created each night for us, and we get to see them each night. And I mean, at sunset, yes. So this is what I would say about art connecting people.
I remember going to a museum and seeing a white board, a white painting, completely white. Yeah. For me, it was nothing, but it triggered something in me. And I was 14, and it was in the Modern Museum of Art in New York. And still I'm thinking about it, you know, and it's how courageous it was of the painter, or how stupid was it of him not to make an effort, but just to put a painting without being a painting. But still, it made something with me. And for me, art is the dialogue, the language. And indeed, I do appreciate the technically perfect paintings of the 16th, 17th century, if I'm not like, no, where you noticed how accurate everything was, and how much technique was behind every painting. But good art is always something that remains in your head forever, that you're not able to forget, even if it's not a good piece. Yesterday I read Warten auf Godot finally till the end, and waiting for Godot. And it's a very absurd piece, and in the end they're only waiting and waiting, and the person doesn't appear, and you're like, okay, but still it's something you're going to talk about. Still there's something that triggers something inside you, and you will not forget in the next few years, or never ever. It's about the experience.
Yeah.
Well, for example, this white painting you saw, I think everybody of us knows this painting, you know. So it's such a simple thing, but it's so well known. I think this shows that it has not something really to do with the technique, if whether things are have a meaning in the cultural art discussion or not. There are so many sides of so many perspectives to look at these works of art. But it's interesting, you know, you kind of complained about this painting, and I just said, okay, I know this painting, I know this Fauvismus, and I had, well, similar feelings about that. I think it's okay to see it in a museum because somebody is showing. You know, somebody decides what is shown there, and maybe they show that they want to say something. You know, maybe the diversity of everything. And besides that, I think everybody has to go his own or her own way and deciding, okay, what's meaningful for me and what is not. So
I think that also touches this whole thing of the boundary, you know, because when we think of arts, the thing normally that pops up to people is like some canvas, is something framed, and I mean it is always framed, but sometimes like that frame is just so diffused that it kind of starts to fade, and it becomes then maybe too abstract, that then you feel like there is no technique, or I don't know. I mean, I personally, I really like I really like this artist. It's called Albert Fleucon. As an artist I actually recently discovered. He was partially related to the Bauhaus movement, but what I really like about him is that because I do like similar things where like you don't necessarily have like just one thing, but you can like keep flipping and turning your drawing, and you keep seeing different things, and every person then actually sees different things in it, because I think that's actually like the beauty is actually like always a certain degree of like it provokes something in you, even if it's just like this illusion that you have this perfect landscape. So I think art is always political, it's always social. I think like how our daily actions are also always political and social, because they have some impact, they trigger something. Yeah.
Great. As we kind of come to the end, maybe if anyone has a final thought, and then I also have a final question. But if anybody has anything else they want to share, this would be the time. I guess then I would love if everyone kind of as a goodbye maybe could say something that they are thankful about after experiencing social distance, kind of, because we thought about, you know, maybe seeing it as a chance, or maybe bringing kind of a positive spin at the end. So if there's anything good that came out.
Learn to appreciate what we didn't have before, what we had before and what we don't have now. and seeing how important every detail is, and how important it is, the routine, and to go outside, and to how important it is to stay in touch with people, to learn to reappreciate what we had.
Definitely also taught me the value of keeping to a routine, you know, with all of this kind of formless time, kind of differentiated and like lacking boundaries. Definitely, yeah, impress the importance of keeping a routine through things.
Yeah, and I guess just spending so much time alone with oneself is, I mean, not an opportunity that, thank God, we have very often for such extended periods of time. And I think that, I don't know, this sort of like being forced to look inward and like look inward alongside our friends. I don't know, it's definitely unique. I don't think it's all bad. I don't know, and like I've never like thought about any of these things before, so I guess that's kind of a cool opportunity. Yeah, I'm not sure, but.
I think I don't know if it fits for a final word of myself, but I was just thinking about that. You know, I started this art therapy thing, and talking about this before I did this with other artists and friends, you know, and some people thought this is maybe not a good thing if you start with this art therapy thing, because it might change your expression of art, you know, and what you think about art and things, you know. And well, the one thing is, to me, it was never so important what I do with my art thing. I always was very clear in that I want to do, I want to use the art thing for communication, for some kind of social work, you know, and use it as a method, or as a, you know, something. And I have changed, and my thinking about art has changed in all these years. But I'm really so happy, you know, to see all these things and to let all these changes happen, you know, because you can stick to your point and watch very jealous over it, you know, and say, okay, I have developed something for me and this works, and it's so hard to have something that works. You know, I am so fine with it that now I've found it. I want to stick to this, and I want to preserve this. And I say, to me, it's important always to walk on and to get new impressions and be in contact with people. As you know, I know nobody of you. You know, now we talked, and I have something to think about, and I have you know, and everything impresses and leaves its marks. And for me, it's very important to get new inspirations, to get new ideas, to get new ways of thinking, and betraying, seeing or interpreting things. So I'm really fine and happy with all the changes I've been through. And you know, as I told you, I don't care anymore. Just let me do my thing, and I'm happy with it. And you know.
If you want, I don't mind sharing like latest thing I did. I would consider some artistic expression of myself, I guess.
Sure.
But how do I share screen here again?
It's at the top or at the bottom, and it's like a green button. And it's
Oh
like,
yeah. How do I miss that? Wow, they even made it green. So I have like 2 photos. I don't know if you can see that. So this was the painting I was working on. My room. I'm currently sitting here on the side. And this was also like a piece that I just like, I found this huge board on the street, and then I just started. I also the paints I also found on the street, and I just started painting on it. And then at the end, you share, no, stop share. And at the end, it was kind of looking like this. I transported it to my girlfriend's place, and it took me a bit. But yeah, this was the chaos that I was working on.
The tree upside down.
Yeah, the thing is, like, you can
First
keep
impression.
turning it. You can keep turning it, and every time you turn, you see different things on it. Like, if you see from the other side, there is a person surfing, like this wave. And if you look far, there is also like a boob here, and yeah, there's like a planet, a tree, many people inside there, you know, many things. Yeah.
I really love that you found everything on the street. To me, it's kind of like the world already has everything provided for. You just needed to stumble upon it, and I love that.
Yeah, I think that's, I don't know, like, I have a hobby which I do like to do, which currently I can do, which is hitchhiking. I do try to do that every year, and maybe that's a little bit also my attitude in that way to art. I think like things kind of like come to you, and while you're like exploring these mistakes, like the artwork kind of like appears to you like by yourself. I don't know, it's weird. Yeah,
Things come to you.
Yeah.
When you least expect.
just let it be, huh?
Right. I think we're gonna end it here. If you guys all have everything out. I also wanted to, before I kind of say thank you and stuff, I wanted to remind you, or maybe teaser a little bit, that we have our next expedition online on the 18th of April, and it's going to be a different theme that is still going to be announced. Yeah, but I do want to say thank you so much, everyone, for talking to us. Mariana, Pierre, Elia, Alaya, Yuma, and Margarida. Margarida? Did I say that right?
Margarida, but it's fine.
Margarida.
It's always hard to say.
I'm sorry. I'm so German.
No, it's totally fine.
And of course, Alfred Haberkorn. Thank you so much for sharing about your work and sharing you guys' time. We're going to end the YouTube stream, but the Zoom call can still go on. So if you want, you can we'll just talk. So thank you so much, and we'll end the YouTube stream, I hope.